Welcome, everyone. Welcome into Classified Crime. And we have a special guest today with us, Ken Wadell, who has so graciously agreed to answer all of our questions. So, Ken, welcome in.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. I have your picture up for anyone who doesn't know who you are.
All right. Well, my name is Ken Wadell, born and raised in Minnesota and moved to Florida and eventually opened up a riding stable with Kaylin. That's about it, really.
Okay. And for those that don't know, this is Kaylin Deller. She is currently incarcerated, and Ken is raising their child on his own. He does have family support, of course, but he is now the sole custodial parent. So we're going to answer your questions today about what that's like. So let's talk a little bit. Let me pull up a picture of your beautiful daughter, and you can kind of just tell us a little bit about her. This is Ostara, Ken and Kaylin's daughter. So tell us a little bit about her.
All right. Ostara was born October 24th in 2019. Her mother and I were together until she was 2. And when we broke up, we had shared custody. Her mother was very sporadic and she would keep her from me. And for until this incident, it was in and out of court trying to establish set visitations. Her mother would I would see her regularly for 9 months, and then her mother would keep her from me for 6 months, and then it would be regular visits again for 6 months, and then she would keep her from me for 3 months. But anyhow, it's Ostara Ann Wadell. She is now living with me full time ever since her mother was arrested, and she is in kindergarten this year. She's doing well. She's adapting as well as a 6-year-old can. She just had a birthday, turned 6. And I got her right before she turned 5. So it's been, I guess, I don't know, almost 16 months now that she's lived with me full time, and it's been a lot of changes, a lot of fun. She's, like I say, she's adapting as well as you can imagine. Living with a woman that commits a crime like this, that you just don't wake up one day and do that. So, the lifestyle that she was raising my daughter in was very sporadic and uncontrolled, and basically, she was dragging along a 3 and 4-year-old on her escapades in life, and it was just no life for a child. So it's been an adventure. It still is. It has its ups and downs, but overall, we are truly enjoying life together.
So she's kind of had a lot of adjustments this past year and a half. She's moved from you guys were kind of in a custody battle, and she had very sporadic visitation with you, to now she's full-time visitation with you, and her mom got incarcerated. So let's talk a little bit about that. I have a few of the arrest reports. So first, you guys had a situation of domestic violence, correct?
Yes, she got into, well, after we split up, she started her life of drugs and partying again, and she slowly ran our business into the ground. And long story short, she was being evicted from the house that we got when Ostara was like 6 months old, and she was going to be homeless, and I wasn't going to let my daughter and my daughter's mother be homeless. So I moved them in to my house, got her a job working at the same place I was working. Um, Thought she was cleaning her life up, but behind everyone's back, she was sneaking off to the dealer and, continuing that life and hiding it from us. And eventually I found out, and, I confronted her one day when she didn't come home to not babysit, but to watch our daughter while I did the night shift. And I told her she had to make a choice between the drugs and our daughter. And that night, when she got home at like 2 a.m, she attacked me in my sleep with a knife. And not sure how or why, but I was able to grab her wrist as she was going to stab me. And the motion of it just drug the knife down my arm, and I just got a superficial cut on my arm. And that was all the damage she did, but she was arrested that night for aggravated battery.
And this is the business you guys own together. I'm showing it just for context. C&K Horsing Around. You guys had a horse stables and trail rides that
Yes.
you guys were running together. She ended up kind of falling back into drugs. And then this is the arrest report from the incident. And you can see her charge down here highlighted in pink is that she used a deadly weapon. She ended up being charged with that and being arrested that night, but then she, I think, bailed out the next day, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then after that, she, I think, was on probation, right? And you had a restraining order basically during that time, which she did violate. Then, without really notifying you, she ended up getting the plea deal. So I'll put that up here as well. So here's the plea deal that she got. So it went from using a deadly weapon, which was a felony, to this plea deal, improper exhibition of a weapon, which is a misdemeanor, and they gave her time served plus court costs and cost of investigation, basically.
Yeah. Basically, not even a slap on the wrist. So this incident happened. She was arrested. She bonded out. She had a restraining order, and she broke the order one day. And because of the ankle monitor, they caught her like right away. They swarmed on her, and she said it was an accident and this and that. She didn't know that the road she was on was going that close to the farm. And anyhow, they didn't end up even charging her with it. She should have been re-locked up that day, and she violated it. It doesn't matter if you don't know a law. If you violate the law, like you get charged.
Yeah.
But so anyhow, through whatever reasons, they did not charge her with it, and so the child services had stepped in and come up with a visitation plan. I went and filed an injunction stating that, her mom was obviously out of control when you swoop to the level of trying to attack somebody while they're sleeping. And the judge agreed. I got the injunction. The sheriffs were out looking for Ostara to get her away from her mother. DCF notified Kaylin that I had won. The judge ordered the injunction and that they were looking for Ostara. The very next morning at like 6 a.m, Kaylin brought Ostara to the hospital and said that she believed that I had been sexually abusing her. So,
Okay. So she accused you of that during your custody dispute.
right, while she was out on bond for, trying to stab me. And
Mhm.
this opened up, a whole new can of worms for me. They would not even allow me to see my daughter during this investigation, and it takes months. So I went on the road. I bought a mechanical bull and went on the road and was doing tours um, all over the Midwest, and staying in communications with the sheriffs. They would call and interview me periodically. And I had never heard from the prosecutor in this time span. And the prosecutor is saying that she dropped it to a misdemeanor because she was unable to get a hold of me, that my phone had been disconnected and this and that. Well, she didn't know that the investigation was going on during that time, and that, my phone was never off, and the sheriff was talking to me weekly, and if not weekly, bi-weekly. So there was never a time when the prosecutor couldn't get a hold of me. And so finally I reached out to her when it had been a few months, and she said, well, I was unable to locate you. So I made a deal with her, and I was like, well, I'm here now.
Mhm.
Now you know where I'm at. And now you know that I'm definitely showing up for court. So, we need to bring it back. And she lied to me, and she told me once she made a deal that she can't go back on that deal. And that was a lie. Until the judge signs off on any case, she would have been able to change the charge back. And,
Mhm.
for whatever reason, she didn't. She just wanted the case off of her desk. She is now sitting in a cushy job in Jacksonville, at a private law
Yeah.
firm. So I'm pretty sure she just wanted her plate clean and able to move on. She did not care about the case whatsoever.
And just so the
So
viewers know, we did go into a lot of detail on that case that you had to go through and your personal experience. I will link those two videos in the description of this one if you want to hear more about that story, because Ken went into a lot of detail about the domestic violence charge and going through this whole custody issue. But that is kind of like the background where it all started to be,
that's where
contentious.
it
And
really started to fall apart. Yeah.
but then she ended up getting arrested. So I'll show her next charge. She stole some livestock from someone and got charged with that. So here's that. Um, this is the charges of that. So on February 16th, she was allegedly stole a baby calf, and then they ended up charging her with it late September of 2024. So your domestic violence case happened in April of 23. You're still going through family court all this time, but then she got arrested in September for this, and that's when you ended up having full custody of your daughter at that time, correct?
Correct. When she got arrested for that, she was like the lead suspect in the murder charge, and so they brought that case off the shelf so they could arrest her, so I could gain custody of Ostara. So I've had Ostara full time since she got arrested that day, September, I guess 24th
24.
or 24th. Yes.
And then in November of 2024, we have this arrest report where she was charged in what she's currently incarcerated for in the county jail awaiting trial. And all of this is alleged because she's innocent until proven guilty. But she is currently charged for first degree premeditated murder.
Correct.
So since September, your daughter did she witness her mother getting arrested?
Yes, she was with her mom when they arrested her.
So she went through the custody battle, the investigation where you were accused falsely. She went through seeing her mother get arrested, and not only for the theft, but now also for first degree. And now she's looking at possibly life. Her trial is scheduled to happen next year sometime, but she could end up with life without parole, right?
Correct. They, for whatever reason, they decided not the death penalty, but any murder committed with a gun, a firearm in the state of Florida is life without parole is the maximum.
So a year after you had the domestic violence incident, she ends up taking the life of her boyfriend at this time, and she tried to conceal the body. So there's a lot of charges involved with that she's on trial for. And we're not going to go into detail on that because it's ongoing.
Correct.
Once that is completed, we can go into more detail. But, all of that as of it stands right now, she's alleged to have done this. And I went to the bond hearing and you were there as well. And based on the evidence they presented, it does look very likely that she will get convicted, just even based on all her cell phone data they pulled, and they have witnesses, and you're a key witness in the case. So that's another reason we're not going to go into too much about that, but we just want everyone to be aware of the background and what she's charged with and what her possible sentencing could be. But she is still currently in the county jail. Once her trial is completed, then she will end up being transported to, if she's found guilty, a Florida state penitentiary at that time.
Right.
And in the meantime, you're staying close to family with support. You have some sisters that help you with your daughter, but you're basically a single parent and you're raising a young child who is 6 years old. She doesn't have, the full understanding of what's going on. So tell us how you deal with her, mental health in all of this transition for her.
Right. It's every day is a new day, that's for sure. I went probably 6 months with no contact with her mom, and she saw the arrest, so she would explain it as the woo woo took my mom, the woo woo being the police. And she would put her hands behind her back like they were handcuffed, and that's how she would explain where her mom is if anybody asked. And it was very heartbreaking. This has definitely been an emotional roller coaster. But I do what I feel is best for Ostara every day. And a lot of days, some people don't agree with it. And but it's my job. Her mother and the system have both failed my daughter. So I can't. She has to have some sense of stability. She still tests me. She'll act up, and just basically, through talking with therapists and her being in therapy, she wants to know if I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain the mind of a 5-year-old if you've never had to analyze one with therapists. And so some days I can't close the bathroom door without her crying, wanting to know where I'm at. And then some days she'll just act out and be unruly to see if I'm going to discard her or, abandon her. Her mother did a lot of neglect, leaving her here for a week and, falling asleep with her on a Tuesday night, and then being gone when she woke up and somebody else was there and her mom was gone for a week. And then all of a sudden her mom would show back up. And since the day I have custody of her, we have not been a night apart. She has not even spent the night alone at her grandma's or anywhere. It's a year and a half.
The world was just suddenly turned upside down. Not
Oh,
only it's hard enough for a child and the parents and a family to go through, family court, custody, all of that you're going through, but then her mom ends up getting arrested and she saw it. So she's very concerned about, you know, could you be possibly taken away without notice, and where would she be then, and where is her mom, why can't she see her mom? So what kind of questions do you have to answer for her about her mother and the related to her being incarcerated?
well, in the beginning, it was a lot. And, through help with her therapist and my sister is also a therapist. And so I would bounce questions off of her and how to handle things. And you, you, you can't, not that she's not a normal 5 and 6 year old, but you just can't react the way you could react if you were in a normal situation, because she just doesn't understand. So she acts out and, she's looking for a response. And basically all you can do is love her and say that you understand and try to work with her to react differently. But the questions of why she can't see her mom have stopped, because it's been a year and a half and she knows that her mom was naughty and the woo woo have her, and it's going to be a very, very long time if she can ever see her again. And it was getting to be too emotional and too heartbreaking to see this every day. So about 6 months ago or so, about 7 months ago, I started allowing phone calls with her mother, which I'm going to get a lot of slack from, especially people are filled with anger and the loss of their son, and they are in the mindset that they don't get to see, the daughter doesn't get to see her dad anymore, and the mom doesn't get to see her son anymore, and Kaylin should not be allowed to see her daughter anymore. Like, she needs the full punishment of this. And I was in agreement for a long time, but one day I woke up and I was like, I have to allow some communication to see if this can help. And so I did, and it did change things. I couldn't imagine being a 5-year-old and just basically having your mom disappear. Yes, she saw the arrest, but she lost so much more that day, because the farm that we had and that Kayla was running with, she lost that. She lost her horses that day. She lost her kittens, her puppies, her goats, her ducks. She lost all of that along with her mom. So there was so much more emotions than just losing the mom. So anyhow, I allowed a phone call, and it went really well, and it helped Ostara's attitude and mindset. And so over the past 6 months of talking with her mom, she is she no longer asks where her mom is, or why mama isn't there, because she knows now we're just dealing with the mental issues of not having her mom there,
Mhm.
and the
And you have been still
frustration.
dealing with professionals about these decisions as well, like you said.
Oh yes, yep. She sees a therapist, and then her school therapist and her school teacher are, I mean, they are amazing, and they work with her outside therapist, and they've come up with a individual, education plan for Ostara. She wasn't read to. She didn't wasn't counting, just normal
Mhm.
things that you do. When you're eating supper, you they count peas and they count carrots, and there was just none of that. No normal learning. Um, so she was behind on almost everything, and she's currently doing really good, um, in the education department. It's just the mental health issues that
Right.
that we deal with.
And she's still a 6-year-old. She's also an only child, so she's gonna have challenges with interpersonal, interactions with kids in her class and things like that anyway, because that's normal at her age. But then add on top of that, the challenges of what she's been through the past few years, there's gonna be some behavior issues that you have to work through. So it's 100% parenting is a challenge, but yours is compounded by this
it,
situation.
yeah, and I don't have anything to base it off of. It is literally when she falls asleep at night, I breathe different. When she is safe in that bed is the only time that I'm not on edge or stressed about, am I doing this right?
Mhm.
The day's events, did I hug her enough? Was I firm enough? Um, it, it's really hard, because in a lot of ways she's a normal child, and she plays and she'll break something, she'll spill something, like,
Right.
so everything is just like, how am I supposed to react in this situation, and why did she do this? Is she looking for something? Is this a anger outburst because she lost her mom, and
Mhm.
or is this just normal? And so it's really, really helpful to have an amazing education system. That's the main reason why we picked this house and this neighborhood. Is literally, I can see the school from my kitchen window, and they are all on board. I had to open up, I didn't want them to know, but they needed to know, the worst of it. And they have all fallen in love with Ostara. And I get emails every day about the good things, the bad things, it's really, I couldn't do it without, the supports. Well, I say I couldn't, I would still have to do it, but it's just very beneficial, the support I get from the school and her therapist.
Which is great. I'm glad you have that support network because we don't get a reset button. We don't get a redo. You only get one go at raising your kids and then they're raised, they're adults, and you want to do it right. And while you did mention, Kaylin does deserve to be punished for what she did, Ostara doesn't deserve to be punished by proxy of that.
Absolutely. And that's the part that no one can understand. Like I say, I'm probably going to lose a few friends once this is public, because I've kept it under wraps, because they didn't need to know at the time. The trial's getting closer, and a lot of things are going to come out in trial, and it was just time to uh, to let everybody know that my daughter comes first. My daughter comes before our friendships. My daughter comes before everything. And the minute that I think that letting her talk to her mom is not beneficial, that's the day it will end. It's, as of right now, it makes her happy, and I don't care if a side effect is it makes Kaylin happy. Like, I do not care about Kaylin's feelings. I do not care about my feelings. My mother, Ostara's grandmother, who thankfully doesn't take it out on Ostara, she is absolutely Ostara has melted her heart, and she's the favorite grandchild. But I catch slack from her. Are you sure? Like, because this woman that's in jail, Star's mom, for murder, that's what her charge is. She tried to kill me. And so my mom's aspect of this woman is, I'm lucky to be alive. I'm lucky to, my mom is lucky to still have me. So there's huge anger issues, towards this woman. She feels badly for the victim's family, but every day she's reminded that it could have been her. And so, she doesn't like the fact that Kaylin gets to talk to Ostara. She definitely feels she doesn't deserve it, but she understands my point of view on it. And that's probably only because she's my mother.
Yeah.
It's
And
but
Sarah's grandmother.
right. And
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 we
I and
talked
I
about how difficult it is for you too, because you have your own feelings of animosity towards Kaylin for what she did to you, what she put your daughter through. I mean, she's not your favorite person by a long stretch, but what good is that going to do for your daughter? And any of us who've had to co-parent know, if you're just sitting there negatively speaking about the other parent, kids internalize that. They blame themselves. They think, oh, well, I'm a part of that person, so am I bad? They don't
right.
understand that there's a separation between your feelings towards the other parent's actions and behaviors and them. They don't make that disconnection there.
Yep.
So it's not healthy for you to be saying negative things. So on that note, what do you tell Ostara as far as like the extent of what she knows her mom did? Like you said, she knows the police took her and she was bad, but does she know anything like beyond,
No.
just okay.
She,
And I don't
the
blame you.
word, yeah, the word murder and being gone forever is never spoken. There's, until she gets older,
Yeah.
we're going to leave that hope of seeing her mom. And once the trial's over and she's where she's going to be, then will I let my daughter have visitations is the next big question. And
Because right
obviously,
now she can't visit in the county jail, right?
no, nope.
But if she
She,
ends up being convicted and sent to state prison, they do allow visitation, and so that will be, a discussion. So do you have kind of a grasp of what Kaylin wants, as far as communication with Ostara and visitation in the future? Is she kind of receptive to what you want for your daughter?
um, the basic answer is yes. She understands. She's been drug free and on her psych meds for since September 24th. Almost a year and a half, and you know, being so clean and sober changes a person. And I'm not, anything I say is not in defense of Kaylin and what she did. She's where she's at. She's going to get what she deserves, but she has changed in many ways. And um She realizes that it's a blessing that I allow contact. She, at the end of every phone call, right after she says she loves her, she's like, make sure you're, a good girl in school and that you listen to your daddy and that he's the boss. And so before the phone calls started, I had a deep conversation with her about, you know, what is allowed and what isn't allowed, and that, if
As
if
far as
any of the
topics of conversation
right
between them.
and
Mhm.
and if any of the ground rules are broken, then I'll hang that call up and there won't be any more. And so, um, yes, and that conversation has come up with Kaylin about, once she gets to where she's going to be, will I allow visitations? And as of right now, I'm open to one visitation to see how it goes. Um, my daughter never, we all know as adults the misery that Kaylin brought to the world and the terrible things that Kaylin's done.
Mhm.
Um, but this little girl never got to say goodbye to her mom. Never, there was not one more hug. They left Ostara in the car when they arrested her, and they left her in the car until I got there to pick her up.
Mhm.
Um, so, living my life, no, Ostara would never see her mother again. But I also have to live my daughter's life, and
Yeah.
I can't imagine not getting that last goodbye, not getting that last hug, that last, her mom never got a chance, especially never got a chance sober, because she was high the day she was arrested, so it's like, yes, I'm going to allow that initial visit.
And see how it goes and how your daughter reacts to it, and
Yes.
whether or not it's healthy for her
Right.
or not.
And I have moved many, many, many states away. So, that one visit will be expensive. And so as a single parent, we have food in our cupboard, but like there's not a lot of extra. And
Mhm.
so visitations would be hard anyhow from that far away. So it's really
Gonna
not
be
a
rare.
concern. Right. Yeah. It's,
Not every other weekend kind of thing, not every month.
yeah.
More like
Yeah.
once a year or,
Yeah.
less, you know.
Yeah.
And when
I
she's
figured,
older, it might be different, but
oh, everything will change. I mean, the rules that we have in the house right now are going to change, every
right.
year. And so those rules will also change the more and more she gets to understand, and in a lot of ways she'll mature in some areas faster than a kid with, but knowing that her mom's in jail and having this whole thought process 3 years from now, she might be able to say if she doesn't want to talk to her mom anymore. And,
Yeah,
but so
and have more
basically,
input on that.
right. Basically, Kaylin has no input. Um, she has to, um, defend my rules to Ostara, and reassure Ostara that daddy's the boss and that daddy loves her. And, I'm doing the best I can. And whatever I decide is what we have to go with. So,
Now, so as far as calling, obviously you can't just call the jail and ask to speak to her. She has to call you. So do you guys kind of schedule times? Does she call you random times? I mean, obviously your daughter's in school. She can't just call at any time. And then do you
right.
supervise those communications, or how does that work?
Um, Basically, I've told Kaylin we tried to do the set times, but
Mhm.
she might be off with her aunt one night, and we might be at the park, and I'm not gonna stop and answer the phone at the park, and
Yeah.
so Kaylin is at full understanding that she can call when she wants, but if I don't answer, there can't be any animosity, any anger. Like if I don't answer for 4 days, on the fifth day when we do answer, there is no why haven't you answered. It's because we're living our life.
And
You
she
are.
respects that from
Yes,
you?
she has to, or it wouldn't work, because I am not going to take away from a live moment of joy or whatever Ostar is doing to to talk to her mom.
Right.
It it's it's a mental health issue for me right now. It's not a they love each other type thing. It's
Well, and she
because of my
can't dictate
daughter's.
your schedule. You're the parent. You're the sole um parent in the situation. You're making all the appointments. You're doing all the transportation, the homework, the bath time, the bedtime, the dinner. You're doing all of that. So she obviously would need to respect that. It's just a matter of does she. So you're saying that you just
Yeah.
kind of set firm boundaries and she wants in order to be able to continue communication, she respects that.
Yes, we have had no arguments, no issues, nothing since the communication has
And
started.
she's not calling every 2 minutes if you don't pick up, things like that.
No, she's allowed to try. If she calls at 5, then she can call at 7, and if we're available, then we answer, and I let them talk, and no calls are unsupervised.
Okay.
For for one thing, I have to translate. Ostara's kind of got her own language, and her mom's been out of her life for so long that she doesn't really understand her. So, and that way, um, I'm there in case
Something comes
Kaylin.
up. You can
Right, right,
answer and
and
address.
yep, it never has. And when Ostara acted out in school a couple of times one week, I took the phone calls away. I'm like, well, maybe this isn't. But
Mhm.
the behavior didn't change. And then I was able to use the phone calls to help Ostara see that she needed to be good to get everything that she wants. So I do use the phone calls not as leverage, but as a teaching. That if you want phone calls with your mom, which is great if you do, and it's great if you don't. But if you want to talk to her, then we have to act this way. And so it is kind of a help, and a learning aid for both of us
Okay. Well, and I'm sure it's a learn as you go process because, like you
every
said,
day.
if anything were to, happen on the call, you would disconnect it. And like if she's acting out, you would cease the calls for a time. And you just kind of have to play it by ear. And I mean, every child has to learn actions and consequences. And, this is part of that. We all use things as leverage as parents. Like if you want to be able to do X, Y, and Z, then you need to clean your room or whatever it is.
Right,
Because it's just teaching them basic responsibility. If you want to do fun, you have to finish the required things for the day. We all have to do that,
right.
whether we like it or not. So when she has calls, do you ever do video calls? Does she have pictures of her mom that she looks at, or things like that?
We started out doing video calls. Well, we started out with a couple of regular phone calls, and then I was like, okay, we can schedule a few video calls. And it was the first couple were great. She loved to see her mom, and they could pretend to hug each other, and they could just
Hmm.
see facial expressions, and it was good. But then shortly after, she would kind of get more discouraged after the phone calls because she doesn't process and know and understand what's happening like you and I can. So I believe in my heart that it was more frustrating for her because she could see her mom. So if I can see and talk to my mom, why can't I touch her? Why can't she come to me? And so I took away the video calls, and it's just voice calls now, and it seems to be less stressful. She would focus more on her mom and the background, and
Mm,
it was too
distracting.
distracting. It took away from the purpose, because these phone calls have a purpose, or I wouldn't allow them. And that purpose is for her to talk to her mom, and say what she wants to say. If she's mad at her mom for not being there, I tell her to tell her. And Kaylin's not allowed to react in any way but I'm sorry, or be positive in whatever Ostara says. So
In a
you know,
healthy way for her child,
right,
which is good that she's cooperative with that because, it's very likely that a lot of other people in that situation don't have that cooperation.
right, yeah, it's definitely a everyday thought that goes through my head. Am I doing right? Are these people right? And the answer is no, they're not right. I have to put Ostara's feelings first. I cannot I cannot sit back here and feel good about punishing Kaylin when it's affecting my daughter. You know,
Right.
it, it Kaylin's going to get her punishment, and someday Ostara is going to be old enough to make her own decisions, and I will grant those decisions, in the best way that I can. But until then, I have to try to think like a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
I
And
don't,
so
I
maybe
don't,
seeing her mom, she's like just talking to her on the phone, she kind of understands the concept of there's a distance there when you're talking to someone on the phone, but maybe seeing her,
right.
she felt like, okay, she's closer than I thought. I mean, I'm just speculating. I don't
Yeah.
know what she's thinking, but it
Yes.
probably
No,
was
that, and
harder for
that's,
her.
yeah. It seemed like it was much harder for her to digest the video calls. And,
And you have to fund all the calls, right? You have to pay for the
the
calls once
video
they're
calls
ended.
I had to pay for, and some of the phone calls, but they've just got a new company, and the calls they can happen on their tablets now. They don't have to be on the wall phone, and so
Okay.
she has to pay for that.
Through her
And
own whatever
yeah,
is put
it's
in her
like
account.
yeah, it's like 10 cents a minute or something, and
Okay.
I allow 15-minute calls, so $1.50 a call usually, something like that.
So do you ever put money in there for her to be able to call, or she figures that out on her own?
No, yeah, absolutely not. I paid for the video calls only because there was no way she could,
Mhm.
and but since then, it's if you don't have money, you don't talk to her. So, if she gets $30 that month, then she needs to decide who's more important to talk to, her sister or her daughter. I
Yeah.
don't know who she talks to. I don't know if it's anyone, but I am assuming her sister, and then she has the woman that was going to take her in if she got bond. That woman, I'm sure she communicates with, but other than that, I I don't pay for anything anymore, and I won't.
And I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Well, because like you said, if you have once she gets her trial, if she's sentenced to life and housed in prison, you'll have the expense. If there's a visitation, you'll have the expense of that trip. And I mean, all these things that you don't want to do, you want to just say, no, we're not visiting. I don't want to spend all this money. And But if she needs to see her mom again, like you said, if she needs that, it's not about you rewarding Kaylin. It's about your daughter being able to have a healthy, functional mental aspect in her life long term.
Right. Yep.
So it's a tough spot you're in. I mean, I really can't even imagine. Um, we've all had to make decisions for our kids that, what's going to be in the best interest, and none of us can tell down the road how this is going to really affect them. But I feel like your situation is even more rare. You don't really have parenting books on this kind of topic that you can check out or read. So it's
Right. And
definitely a difficult spot to be in.
yeah, and the decisions that I make, there is no instant answer either. It's like you can't do something once and get an instant, okay, I need to keep doing this, or okay, I need to stop this. Like everything takes time to process. It's so hard to make yourself think like a 5 and 6 year old. It's like it's a challenge every day. You know, what would Ostara feel about this, and should the biggest thing is why the conversations are allowed to keep place is because she has a mom. Her mom is not dead.
Right.
And I, you know, she would meet a friend and her friend, would say, go ask your mom. She would be like, huh? Like,
Mm.
I can't ask my mom. Like, there's my dad. And then even adults, oh, what does your mom think? Or will your mom let you come over? And it,
That's an
so I
awkward
think, yeah, it put,
conversation to have.
yeah, it puts me in an awkward situation. So I can't imagine how Ostara would feel. And so I had a conversation with Kaylin, and she needs to be able to ask you these things. And what you think about this kid or that kid, and you need to make up something positive, like that's good or bad, like.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a learning process. And like I said, Kaylin is on her mental health medication, and she's clean, so she's very receptive. She's never not once told me no, like, no, I'm not going to do that or whatever.
Okay.
So it's almost a situation like we play house, you know.
Yeah.
As dumb as that sounds, when her mom's on the phone, we're a family, and we make family decisions, and that it there's absolutely no way that I could ever explain how difficult that is to play house with someone that tried to kill you.
Yeah.
Like, and
No,
I
I can't
will
imagine.
praise the day my daughter is old enough to start making some of her own decisions on this.
Yeah.
So yeah, and she'll probably have to be 16, 15, I don't know, before I would ever voice my true opinions to my daughter. My daughter has to make those decisions herself. If
Yeah.
she can forgive her mom for the life that she was leading Ostara down, then
Mm-hmm.
she can forgive her for it. Hell, there's people that hug the person that murdered their child because they have that connection with God and forgiveness and all that. So Ostara might grow up and just love her mom, and I'm not going to be the cause of that not happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because she'll resent you and act out towards you because of it.
Yeah.
So, so let's look at some of the viewer questions we had. So, let me pull these up. Okay. So we had some question about the sentencing time, which I think we discussed. And the first question, you have sole parenting decision making authority, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And we talked about whether or not she can't visit currently, but she might in the future. And you're just kind of playing that by ear. We do have a viewer comment thanking you for answering these very personal questions for our nosy interest. um, Someone asked, how do you decide how much to tell about the actions of the incarcerated parent? And how do you prepare the child to answer questions from friends about her mother? Um, like, why don't we see her at the park versus is it true that she did this? Now, you guys are farther away from the case, so people probably don't know a lot about it in your area, right?
Right. And that was another deciding factor. Actually, having family in the tri-state area, is was probably the leading factor, but getting her out of where people would recognize her, or even know the case, was a huge factor. So as of today, there is no discussion about the severity of what her mother's done. Um, and if somebody does ask her, she just says, "Mom's in jail."
Mm-hmm.
And that usually makes people tuck tail and not ask any more questions. Like, she's never been asked what for. And as of Ostara's and my conversations, I'm pretty sure Ostara's answer would be just she got in trouble, because that's what I
Because of
say.
her age too. It's just
Yeah,
not appropriate.
no,
The older she gets, she might, of course, she'll probably do her own research into it. As she gets older, she can look anything up online and see. And then
yeah.
you'll have a whole nother can of worms open for you to discuss with her, I'm sure, which I'm sure you're looking forward to. But
Oh yeah.
so someone else had a question. How is your daughter's mother involved in any decision making, if any? Um, and so I'll let you answer that.
I would say the truthful answer is zero.
Mhm.
It's just not going to happen. Now, if we were talking and she had a good idea for me to try something, I would be open to that. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
as far as the deciding factor, her mother cannot call me and say, "I want her out of gymnastics and put into swimming." There is no decisions, and the decisions that I make, if any of what her mother said, uh, is basis for it, it's because I agree with it. It's not because her mother said so. Um, uh, yeah. So the overall answer is her mother has no. She's allowed input, but not decisions.
Now, if she started to be more, let's say she ended up, getting into a permanent Department of Corrections, and she started calling a lot more often and those kind of things, and insisting to know details or telling you how would you handle that kind of input from her?
I would hang up.
Very clear boundary there. Just
Yes, yes. Those boundaries will never change. Like, your decisions in life got you in prison.
yeah.
So,
And you had nothing to do with that. So
you're right. Yeah, it's like I said, if her mother ever called and said this or that, the only way it would happen is if it was something that I hadn't thought of, that now that I heard it, I agree it would be beneficial for Ostara. Everyone in my life, and your viewers don't have to do anything they want to do, but everyone in my life has to accept the fact that everything I do is based on Ostara's emotional and physical needs.
which is a
That's
difficult place to be in and of itself. It's a huge weight on your shoulders.
Yeah, every decision I make, I can lose friends. She could lose friends. It's ugly, but it's also beautiful. It's a blessing. Everyone that knows how she was living, thanks me for saving Ostara. Ostara
Out of
saved
that
me.
situation.
Yeah. She's brought me closer to, my higher power, God. And, um, it's, I had to change everything that I thought,
Mhm.
because when this all started, yes, I was right along with the anger and living my life angrily. No, there's no way she's ever gonna see or talk to that crazy woman again.
Mhm.
And that was the wrong path. Um, Second chances and forgiveness. Like I say, anything that I've said in this interview is not in defense of her mother. And it never would be. She, like I say, she is exactly where she needs to be. It's not proven in court, but it's my belief that she is 100% guilty based off of what I know.
Mhm.
Um, and she is exactly where she needs to be for exactly how long the judge says. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have no opinions on that. It is just a fact that she is where she belongs, and I have no sympathy for it. My heart has been rearranged since I have Ostara, and I'm a much happier, forgiving, loving person. And I am not mean to Kaylin ever when she calls. I'm supportive. I wish her, you know, good mental health. I couldn't imagine facing the rest of my life in prison. Like, I would have a Looney Tune breakdown, and I don't want that to happen, because that would hurt my daughter. Everything
Yeah.
has to come back to Ostara. So if I wished ill on her mother, that would hurt my daughter. And what kind of a person am I if the backlash of something I want would be negative for my daughter? I had to change a lot of my thought process, a lot of my feelings, and I had to let them go.
And that
It,
was one of the main reasons you ended up with the domestic violence situation, because you were trying to do the right thing for your child and the mother of your child and giving her second chances. And, of course, that didn't end the way you
yeah,
wanted it to, but you were trying to do the right thing to support your child. Um, so that kind of
yeah.
ties into this viewer. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, no. I got a lot of slack from my family when I let her move in. The 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 craziness of my life had finally started to settle down a little bit. And
Mhm.
it's yeah. I opened my house to him because that's my daughter, and that's my daughter's mother. No matter what she's done, I have to look at her as my daughter's mother, and and what my daughter deserves. My daughter has done nothing wrong. Absolutely not anything wrong. And so for her to be punished by somebody else's mistakes is
Mhm.
wrong. And I had to make a decision one day, and that's my decision. Ostara, she does suffer. Believe me, her mom is, she didn't know any better. She didn't know that life wasn't lived the way she was living. So she truly loves her mother, and
Yeah.
she believes her mother, because we had horses and animals, and there was other outlets for Ostara. So her entire life wasn't bad. It just the parenting was bad. So Ostara has a lot of good memories, and I will never be the one to tell her, that, yeah, it was me paying for those memories, and it was this and that. It
Yeah.
So she just doesn't need to know that until she's old enough. And
Yeah.
and I learned that from my mom. My I would sit on the front step with my bag packed on a Friday night, and my mom would try to come and bring me in at midnight, And I would yell at her and say, no, he's still coming to pick me up. And, wake up there Saturday morning. And my mom never said, that piece of crap father of yours is not going to show up. Like, there was never, I didn't even know that he never paid child support until we were adults. Yeah. And she let me grow up and figure things out on my own. And she was not going to influence how I felt about my dad because of how she felt about him. And I think that decision on hers was right. There's a lot of parents that badmouth. You see these YouTube videos and stuff of this woman's, this child absolutely screaming at the custody exchanges. That is not that child. Like, that child, unless the other person deserves to be in prison for child abuse, which hopefully the system would catch them. That is the other parent talking crap about the other parent and making this 4-year-old child sit there and scream, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. A proper parent would be like, it's your dad's weekend. You're going. And instead of, making the situation worse. So my job as her dad is to not make the situation worse.
Yeah, as best you can. And
Yep.
I mean, that's good words for anyone in a co-parenting situation to think about when they're frustrated or dealing with, because we do deal with frustrations from the other side. And I'm sure, sometimes we're frustrating as well, but it's, you have to think about why you're doing it. Why would the court order, parenting time with both parents? Because it's what's in the best interest for the child most of the time. We don't know
Yep.
every situation, but we
Right.
have to think about that child. So this question is a good one. It says, does being convicted of murder automatically make someone a questionable influence on their child that the other parent could use to deny contact or, insist on supervised contact, etc.? So how do you feel about that?
I think in many cases, yes, like, you didn't end up where you're at by accident. Now, I'm not saying that there's not fluke cases, but I'm just talking standard.
Yeah.
They're there because of a reason, and that reason is their decision making sucks.
Mm-hmm.
So
For
yeah,
whatever reason, if it was influenced by drugs or alcohol or, whatever, I mean,
right.
you still made those decisions.
Yeah. So as far as I'm concerned, Kaylin doesn't have any decision making in the future. She's allowed input, like I said, but and as far as the court goes, I don't know. I don't know if 3 years down the road she's in prison. I don't know if she could get an attorney and try to make rules. Hopefully our hearts stay focused on Ostara and that never happens. But the answer would be is if it was like a legal question, the answer is I don't know. I do know this, that during this whole process, DCF brought into the scene a Title 19. A Title 19 removes a parent from that child's life until that child is 18 years old.
Okay.
They filed
Like
a
a
Title
court
19.
order.
You're right, exactly. No contact with the minor child until the child is no longer a minor. And I was gung ho for that in the beginning, and it got filed, and the judge signed off on it, and it was never presented. I decided not to present it because she got arrested in the meantime, and I knew she was guilty just because of what I know, and so I knew that she was going to be incarcerated for the rest of her life. So I didn't have them put that Title 19 in place because I didn't want Ostara to have to wait till she was 18 to have contact with her mom if one day she woke up at 13 and said, I need to see mom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, there
And would
is
take it out on
ways,
you,
right,
you know?
right. So there is ways that the court can take away parental rights. But in our case, as far as legally, she could probably get an attorney and say she wants more decision makings or she wants more visitations and I wouldn't fight anything as long as it didn't come out of my pocket. We're 1,500 miles away. So if
Yeah.
she wants to see her once a month, she better get a good job in jail.
Well, and the good news is for family court, they don't give you a court appointed taxpayer funded attorney. She would have to be able to pay or get
Right,
someone to do it pro bono. She can't just hire an attorney, put a retainer down and start coming after you from
right.
jail, you know. So that's one good thing on that side. If it was a
And
criminal case, apparently we taxpayers, we just split the bill, right? But when it's children
right,
involved, they don't court appoint attorneys. So
right.
that is one good thing.
And as far as I see, the future is as good as it can be as long as my heart stays in the right place and her mom's heart stays in the right place. Her mom can see by where we live, how Ostara talks, how she acts, that Ostara is happy and I'm making the best decisions that I can. And
Yeah.
so as long, as long as we stay focused on Ostara, I don't see futuristic problems.
Okay. And the last couple of questions here, I think we've already kind of talked on the sentencing that we're speculating that she's getting life, but that's likely. It could be less, but she's looking at significant prison time for her charges if
Yeah.
she's not guilty. He just
As it
answered if.
stands,
Go
oh,
ahead.
go ahead. No, I was just going to say, as it stands, it's premeditated murder with a firearm,
Right.
and that's one of the worst, And on a little side note, that her judge sentenced a woman that's been going through the court process of killing her boyfriend at the time, but she used a knife. So the maximum sentence was 50 years. That judge in that sentencing said that any person convicted of murder in my courtroom will receive the maximum sentence. And she gave that young lady 50 years for stabbing her. And this is the same judge that Kaylin has, Miss Washington. So the
And
future
Kaylin was
really
in that
doesn't look good.
hearing when she said that, right? Kaylin was there.
Yeah, she was there and heard it firsthand. That was the day of her last trial or last court.
Pre-trial. Yeah.
Yeah, it got postponed to February. But to hear that judge, like, it is, so if she's convicted, basically that judge said you're doing life without parole because
Yeah.
that's the maximum sentence.
That the prosecutor is seeking.
Yep.
So, and then the last question we have is, do you talk about the other parent to your daughter, which you've pretty much answered that, and then does she have any pictures of her, anything to kind of help
Yes,
her?
I went. Her mom and I were together till she was 2, and then, I would pick her up for a month, and then her mom would have her for a month, and so there was lots of photo opportunities, and I went and printed about 60 pictures off of my phone so she could have physical pictures of her mother in her room with her dogs and her horses, and if I say anything about her mom, I don't really lie to her. I tell her, your mom is in jail. You know that, and she was naughty. But that absolutely does not mean that your mom doesn't love you. Your mom loves you as much as I do. she maybe didn't know how, and the drugs influenced it.
Mhm.
Ostara doesn't need to know that yet. All she needs to know is that her mom loved her, because she did. She just was shitty at it.
Yeah.
But she did love her, and that's all that's important to a 5 or 6 year old is love. And that's all they want. They want to make people happy, and they want love. They want everyone to love them, and that's Ostara. She is a walking pile of love. We cannot be walking, and if she sees somebody fall a quarter mile away, she takes off running, and she makes sure they're okay. Um, she's that way, and so I'm not going to change that. I'm not going to fill her with any negativity about her mom. She will be old enough one day to make up her own mind and say, Dad, why did you say mom was good? Like, but until
Yeah.
then,
You'll have a whole nother conversation.
yeah, but yeah,
That's
nothing
not
but
it's
positive.
not our place to demonize the other parent to the child, because like I said, that they take ownership of that, because
Yeah.
the other parent is they're part of each of us, of their parents. So you don't want them to adopt that feeling of dad hates mom, so he must also hate me because
Yeah.
part of mom is in me. You don't want them to make that connection. And they may never verbalize it to you, but they may think it, you know?
Oh, yeah. I'm sure
So,
that's a thought process. And, that's why one day she's like totally sent from heaven. Like, just, yes, daddy, and the hugs and kisses. And then the next day she just mad at the world. Well, she probably woke up thinking about her mom, or thinking about, you know, she doesn't she doesn't have her favorite pony in her life every day anymore, and those things will come in time, but as of right now, we're just, it's been a year and a half, but basically we're still on a baseline of her future, so yeah, there's absolutely no negative talk about her mom or the situation that her mom is in. um I let her have hope, and I let her have love, and she will get old enough to figure those things out herself.
yeah, that's very true. And it's a very awkward position that I'm sure many of us don't understand. And hopefully we never will have to be in your shoes.
Yeah.
But there are other people in your shoes. And I mean,
And that's basically the point of this is, we I don't know anyone in this situation, but there's probably 20 in my city. You know what I mean? It happens a lot, but
yeah.
it's not talked about, and so people just act on the angry. Oh, well, that's a piece of crap person. They call them meth head and junkies and
Mm,
stuff like that, and and that's true to them. But I had a relationship, a drug-free, trouble-free relationship, until her Ostara was 2, and so there was good moments, and those are what I have to focus on for Ostara's sake. And I'll have plenty of time to be angry when Ostara is old enough. You know what I mean?
mhm. Yeah. And I'm sure she'll come to you with more questions down the road of,
Yeah.
what happened, why it happened. I mean, I'm sure you're going to have your share of tough conversations, I mean, on top of teaching her how to drive and, all of that fun stuff we all get to do.
Yep.
Get extra fun on your side.
Yep. Right now, I try to make life as normal as possible, and we're learning how to ride without the training wheels, and we're learning how to tie our shoes, and all that normal stuff. So I am very blessed with a loving family, and a golden opportunity to live up here, and to almost rekindle relationships with a few of my sisters that I didn't have before Ostara. And so, yes, Ostara is better off with me. Yes, I am a blessing to Ostara's life, but her blessings in my life are multiple. Um, a couple of my sisters that two of them have texted me during this hour conversation that we've had, and it had probably been years since I talked to them because we had nothing in common. They were living family lives, doing family stuff, and I was riding horses. So it's
Yeah.
she is a big a blessing in my life as I am in hers.
Well, I really appreciate you giving us the opportunity to talk to you and you sharing your journey with us and your daughter, your beautiful daughter. And I just really appreciate you coming on today and sharing all of this with us. I know it can't be easy, and we definitely empathize with you and your situation, and wish you all the best in your continued daily raising of your child, and hope that I just appreciate how focused you are on her and how you're getting her all the resources she needs, and shielding her as best as you can from the difficulty of this. So you're
Yeah.
doing a great job.
Thank you. Yeah, there's lots of nights that I cry when she falls asleep and I don't know what I'm doing, but then there's always something that comes into life that reassures me. And just having an open heart was, was the biggest change. Absolutely everything happens for a reason. It's up to us to find the most positive we can out of every situation. And that's what I try to teach her. And in order to teach her, I have to live it. She has to see that I talk respectful to her mother and that I tell her mother that we pray for her. And a lot of things that a year and a half ago I would not say.
Yeah,
I would be
absolutely.
nothing but negative. You're an
Yeah.
awful, rotten human being. But this new life that Ostar has brought to me has taught me that, yeah, she is a human being. And
Mm.
so, but for the grace of God go I, so yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on today, and thank you to everyone who sent in questions. And when we stream this, I will let Ken know so he can hopefully be in the chat and we can answer any other questions you might have. So I look forward to working with you again once we are dealing with the trial, and you can share even more if you are willing to do so. So we
Yeah.
appreciate you so much, and
Thanks for
thank
having me.
you. Yeah, and thank you everyone for watching.